The dimly lit subway car, Harold Finch's fingers hovered over his keyboard. The soft chime of the machine echoed through the confined space, a sound Finch had grown used to. But tonight something felt different. The number delivered by the machine seemed colder, more ominous than usual. Finch's eyes narrowed as he watched the digits resolve into a name: Walter Main. The air in the subway car grew tense, hinting at the gravity of what was to come. As the name Walter Main appeared on Finch's monitor, John Reese straightened beside him. The blue glow of the screen illuminated Reese's face, sharpening his features and signaling his readiness for action. Sparse details flickered onto the secondary monitor. A grainy photo of a gaunt man, a rusted pickup truck, and a gas station sign barely legible through layers of grime. The Bureau's chilling classification, psychic, stood out starkly, raising more questions than answers. He leaned in, his skepticism clear as he repeated the word psychic. His voice was low, almost a growl, as he tried to process the new twist. Protecting someone with supposed psychic abilities was uncharted territory, even for them. Reese tapped the monitor, focusing on Walter Main's hollow stare. He questioned Finch about the plan, wondering how they could protect a man who might already know what's coming. The uncertainty in the air was palpable. Finch adjusted his glasses, the faint whir of cooling fans filling the silence. He explained to Reese that the psychic classification was buried deep within a restricted Bureau registry. As Finch's fingers danced across the keys, he pulled up fragmented data streams, searching for any clue that could shed light on Walter Main's past. The tension grew as the team realized how little they truly knew about their new person of interest. Finch revealed that Walter Main had vanished from public records 15 years ago, following a seemingly minor traffic violation. This disappearance was odd, but what truly unsettled Finch were the annotations he uncovered, references to Project Starlight and temporal displacement protocols. These terms had been scrubbed from official databases, suggesting a deeper, more secretive history than anyone expected. Mention of Project Starlight sent a chill through Finch. He knew that projects with such cryptic names often involved classified experiments or covert operations. The fact that these terms were linked to Walter Main hinted at a past filled with secrets and possibly dangerous knowledge. Finch's concern deepened as he realized the machine rarely flagged anomalies this opaque. Cryptic notation about temporal displacement gnawed at Finch's mind. Temporal displacement suggested manipulation of time or movement across timelines, concepts that were more science fiction than reality. Yet the Bureau's annotation was clear, and it was tied directly to Walter Main. Finch began cross-referencing every available database, searching for any mention of these protocols. As Finch dug deeper, the mystery surrounding Walter Main only grew. Every lead seemed to end in a dead end, with files either missing or heavily redacted. The machine's choice to flag Walter Main was becoming more intriguing by the minute. Finch and Reese exchanged glances, both aware that they were dealing with forces and knowledge far beyond their usual cases. Reese voiced the question on both their minds: how do you protect someone who might already know what's coming? The idea of a psychic, especially one with a history as shadowy as Walter Main, was unsettling. Finch admitted that the machine's data was unusually sparse, making it difficult to predict what kind of threat they were facing. The uncertainty was a challenge neither of them relished. The only image they had of Walter Main was a grainy photo, a gaunt man standing beside a rusted pickup truck, his eyes hollow and distant. The gas station sign behind him, reading Main Event, was barely visible through the grime. This image, though lacking in detail, spoke volumes about the kind of life Walter Main had been leading, one marked by isolation and secrecy. Bureau's decision to classify Walter Main as psychic was not made lightly. Such a label implied that Main had demonstrated abilities or knowledge that defied conventional explanation. Finch wondered what kind of evidence the Bureau had collected to justify this classification and whether it was enough to warrant the machine's attention. For Finch and Reese, dealing with criminals, terrorists, and even corrupt officials was familiar territory. But a psychic, that was a new kind of threat, one that required them to rethink their usual strategies. The possibility that Walter Main could foresee danger made their task both more urgent and more complicated. Despite their doubts, Finch and Reese had learned to trust the machine's judgment. If Walter Main was flagged, there was a reason, one that might not be immediately clear. Finch reminded Reese that the machine's perspective was broader than theirs, capable of seeing connections and threats that humans could easily miss. Finch began outlining a plan. They would need to locate Walter Main, assess his situation, and determine whether he was truly in danger or if he himself posed a threat. Reese prepared to move, his instincts sharpened by years of experience, but even he admitted that this case felt different from anything they had faced before. The team began their search, combing through public records, surveillance footage, and any trace of Walter Main's recent activity. Every lead seemed to vanish into thin air, reinforcing the idea that Main was either exceptionally good at hiding or had help from powerful allies. The challenge was daunting, but Finch and Reese pressed on. As they pieced together fragments of information, a pattern began to emerge. Walter Main's movements, though sporadic, seemed to follow a logic that eluded easy explanation. Finch speculated that Main might be avoiding detection by using knowledge gained from his supposed psychic abilities, making him a moving target. The Main Event gas station sign in the background of Main's photo became a crucial clue. Finch traced the location to a remote area, hoping it would lead them closer to their target. Reese prepared for a field investigation, knowing that every detail could be vital in a case as strange as this. Reese arrived at the gas station, scanning the area for any sign of Walter Main. The place was rundown, with peeling paint and broken lights. Reese questioned the attendant, but no one seemed to remember seeing Maine. The sense of mystery deepened, and Reese relayed his findings back to Finch. Late at night, Reese spotted a shadowy figure near the edge of the gas station property. He moved in quietly, but the figure vanished before he could get close. Reese was left with more questions than answers, but he was certain he was on the right track. Back in the subway car, Finch analyzed the data from Reese's fieldwork. He noticed subtle anomalies in the surveillance footage, glitches, and timestamps that didn't quite add up. Finch theorized that these could be signs of the temporal displacement protocols mentioned in Maine's file. The investigation was turning into a dangerous game of cat and mouse. Walter Maine seemed to be always one step ahead, as if he knew what Finch and Reese would do before they did it. The team realized they were up against more than just a person; they were facing the unknown. Finch and Reese debated whether Walter Maine was truly psychic or simply extraordinarily well prepared. Finch pointed out that the Bureau's classification was based on more than just rumor, but Reese remained skeptical. Either way, they had to proceed with caution. Reese finally caught up to Walter Maine in a deserted alley. Maine's demeanor was calm, almost resigned, as if he had been expecting Reese all along. The conversation was tense, with Maine offering cryptic warnings about dangers yet to come. Reese sensed that Maine was holding back vital information. Walter Maine spoke in riddles, hinting at threats that neither Finch nor Reese could fully understand. He referenced shadows moving through time and warned that not all dangers could be seen or stopped. The encounter left Reese unsettled and Finch even more determined to uncover the truth. With Maine's warnings echoing in their minds, Finch and Reese realized they were in a race against time. The threat was not just to Maine but potentially to others as well. They doubled their efforts, determined to stay one step ahead of whatever was coming. Strange events began to occur around Walter Maine. Surveillance cameras malfunctioned, and people who tried to approach him reported lost time or memory lapses. Finch theorized that these could be side effects of the temporal protocols, or perhaps something even stranger. Finch uncovered evidence that a shadowy government agency was also searching for Walter Maine. This agency had resources and reach that rivaled even the machine's capabilities. The stakes were rising, and Finch warned Reese to be extra vigilant. Walter Maine went on the run, evading both Finch's team and the government agents. His movements were unpredictable, and every attempt to track him was met with dead ends. Finch and Reese realized they would need to think outside the box if they wanted to catch up. Finch finally discovered a pattern in Maine's movements tied to obscure astronomical events. This breakthrough gave them a new lead, and Reese prepared to intercept Maine at the next predicted location. The chase was back on, with everything to play for. At the predicted location, Reese confronted Walter Maine once more. This time, Maine was less guarded, admitting that he had been part of a government experiment gone wrong. He claimed his abilities were the result of exposure to experimental technology, not true psychic powers. Maine explained that Project Starlight had aimed to create operatives capable of predicting threats before they occurred. The temporal displacement protocols were designed to give subjects glimpses of possible futures, but the side effects were severe and unpredictable. Walter Maine described the toll his abilities had taken on his life. The constant barrage of possible futures made it difficult for him to trust anyone or make decisions. He had chosen isolation to protect himself and possibly others from the unintended consequences of his knowledge. Finch and Reese began to understand the true nature of the threat. Walter Maine was not a villain but a victim of forces beyond his control. Their mission shifted from capturing him to protecting him from those who would exploit his abilities. With the government agency closing in, Finch and Reese devised a plan to help Maine disappear once more. They used their resources to create a new identity for him, ensuring he could live in safety, away from those who sought to use him. Saying goodbye to Walter Maine was not easy. Finch and Reese knew that they might never see him again, but they took comfort in knowing they had given him a chance at a new life. Maine expressed his gratitude in his own quiet way before disappearing into the night. With Maine safely hidden, Finch and Reese reflected on the case. They realized that the world was full of mysteries that even the machine could not fully explain. The experience left them more cautious but also more determined to continue their work. The case of Walter Maine taught Finch and Reese valuable lessons about trust, secrecy, and the limits of technology. They understood that not every threat could be predicted or prevented, but that their commitment to protecting the innocent remained unchanged. Finch pondered the machine's role in their lives. Its ability to see patterns and connections was unparalleled, but even it could not account for every variable. The case reinforced Finch's belief in the importance of human judgment and intuition. The world Finch and Reese operated in was one of secrets and shadows. The case of Walter Maine was a reminder that some secrets were best left buried while others needed to be brought into the light. Their work was far from over. With the case closed, Finch and Reese prepared for whatever the machine would send their way next. They knew that each number brought new challenges but also new opportunities to make a difference. their resolve was stronger than ever. The encounter with Walter Main left a lasting impact on both Finch and Reese. They found themselves questioning the nature of fate, free will, and the boundaries of human knowledge. The experience would shape their approach to future cases. As Finch and Reese settled back into their routine, the machine's chime sounded once more. A new number appeared on the screen, signaling the start of another case. The cycle continued, but the lessons from Walter Main's case would not be forgotten. Finch reflected on the unseen connections that bound people together. The machine's ability to reveal these links was both a blessing and a burden. Each case was a reminder of the complexity of human lives and the importance of empathy. Despite all the technology at their disposal, Finch and Reese knew that the human element was irreplaceable. Their compassion, intuition, and willingness to take risks were what truly made a difference. The machine could guide them, but it was up to them to act. The story of Walter Main would remain with Finch and Reese, a testament to the unpredictable nature of their work. As they looked ahead to new challenges, they carried with them the knowledge that every case, no matter how strange, was an opportunity to do good in a complicated world.